Time now to start newspaper reviews. We have public affairs expert Ayodele Adio joining us in the studio for just that. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's nice to have you join us now.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Let's commence from the Punch newspaper. We have here the drama as DSS operatives stop EFCC from arresting ex-DG, as referring to Ekpenyong Ita, the former DG of the Department of State Services. And you can see the bold pictures there of anyway, the face-off between the two agencies. Now, the issue here is the EFCC and DSS are both agencies under the presidency. I wonder why there is no synergy between these two. There has been a clash before. This is not the first time.
I mean, until we learn the hard lessons, that democracy is about principles and not persons, until we learn to promote institutional integrity over individual discretion, we will not make any progress in this country. This is not the first time you've had agencies under the presidency clashing. Remember, with the Ikoyi saga, you had the EFCC clashing with the NIA and what have you. You've had cases where the Nigerian police had issues with the Peace Corps. I mean, the incoherence is nauseating. And I think it's very important that either the Minister of Interior or the presidency sorts these things out. I mean, it's becoming embarrassing that time after time, security agencies have to point guns at each other. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
And then you wonder really why the disconnect is so glaring. Many would have expected coercion sort of among all internal agencies of security institutions within any country. You
really do expect that, and it's beyond me that the EFCC wants to make an arrest, and then you have the DSS stopping that arrest, pointing guns at the EFCC. It's really baffling, and it's worrisome. We cannot run a civilized country in the 21st century.
We have seen, in fact, the case of the judges that were arrested at the time, when everyone was saying, no, it is actually the prerogative of the EFCC to have carried out that operation, DSS actually carried out that operation, which was centered around allegations of corruption. And then we have the same kind of allegations of corruption against the ex-DG, and DSS are saying you can't arrest our boss.
It's really strange, and you know, of course, the report says that they had written to these individuals severally, you know, to report to the FCC for questioning and what have you, and they just simply have ignored. I mean, you can't run a country like this. You have a country where people flagrantly disregard invitations from the Senate to come for hearings. People disregard invitations from the EFCC because somebody feels it's above the law, because it's a big man. This country has continued to build big men and vulgarize the institutions that is supposed to protect democracy. And it doesn't make any sense.
You have big men, weak institutions.
Exactly.
We have another very interesting headline, jubilation as Mugabe resigns. Finally in Zimbabwe.
Oh yes, I mean, they should savor in the moment. But if anything is to go by with African history, it doesn't support the jubilation on the streets. I mean, they're going to be moving from one strong man to another.
Another strong
crocodile.
The crocodile, for that matter.
From the living oracle to the crocodile.
So they should enjoy the moment and jubilate that Mugabe is out. But I just think it will be short-lived. For me, there has to be fundamental reforms in the country, and people should be given opportunities who understand modern governance to run the country and not going back you know, to the same old stew.
And knowing that the man is favored by war veterans and has been seen by many there to be one of the key men the former president used against Zimbabweans that were critical of the administration of former President Mugabe.
I mean, isn't that a sad tale of African history? The idea of a strong man being able to stabilize a country has always been the narrative, and then he goes there and plunders the country and makes it. So, I mean, like the African proverb that says, different flies, same old shit at the end of the day. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I just do hope that the Zimbabweans who are on the street rejoicing really understand that their country needs to get back up and running. And for me, I'm not sure if the crocodile is the man who can really deliver the goods for them.
All right, let's go to the next paper. That's The Nation. And the major story here is PDP leaders fight dirty over race for chairman. And we have 3 riders. The first one is resign. George tells McCarthy, you are frustrated. Chairman replies. And then Secondus defends his candidature. It's been one drama after the other, trailing the People's Democratic Party's convention being scheduled for December the 9th. So many problems brewing, and it started from the point where the this caretaker committee said that the chairmanship position was not ceded to the Southwest.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was ceded to the South. At some point, it was micro ceded to the Southwest and then back to the South. I mean, for what it's worth, if you looked at the PDP saga from a distance, you would think it was a Bolanle Austin Peters production. The charade is unbelievably embarrassing for a political party that has had its hitches for the past year or so. I mean, they should get their acts together and give this country a viable alternative, if you'd like, a viable opposition in the country. And some of these things that are playing out in the pages of newspapers do not give us any hope at all. I mean, there needs to be an adult in the room that puts people together and get...
Because one feels that after so many years, by now, PDP should have learned their lessons on how to approach things. And an analyst was saying that there are too many powerful men in the party who wouldn't want to succumb to the other and give chance to the other and just obey the principles of the party.
Unfortunately, without a political party, you're unable to achieve your aspirations as you know, presently constituted in Nigeria. So you need the vehicle of a political party to achieve whatever ambitions that you have. So it doesn't matter how big your ego is, you must submit to a political party to achieve that. And that's why it's important that there are adults in the room, in the PDP, to ensure that people fall in line.
Yeah, this brings to mind again the common saying that too many cooks spoil the broth.
Oh,
but
yes,
then you need a chef. You have a sous chef, but then you need someone that will bring everybody together.
You really need that Uncle Sam in the building who says, okay, we cannot let our party fail the Nigerian people. If, you know, let's assume that they have the interest of the Nigerian people at heart. You need somebody that is really directing the affairs of the party and ensure that the credible election holds in December for the chairmanship. And let the best man win.
Okay, another story that is catching here is atop the masthead of the nation. Says Senate Jonathan Mon, ex-VP Ekweme, who sadly died on Sunday, former vice president of the country.
Extremely sad. They don't make them like that anymore. Fabulous gentleman. One of the very few leaders who you look at and you just cannot find, you know, any indictment whatsoever, irrespective of how many years he's been in public service. And the brain behind the PDP, it's sad to lose such an elder statesman in a time like this where you need sane voices in our country, and may his soul rest in perfect peace.
Exactly. Well, the country will seriously miss him.
Oh, yes.
All right, moving to the Daily Sun now. Okay, we've read this before. DSS, EFCC, NIA clash over ex-security chiefs. That's there. And another headline, there's 70 killed in Adamawa, a suicide bomber, herdsmen strike. Well, this latest bomb attack in Mubi in Adamawa State, this is the first since about 2014.
In Adamawa, right?
In Adamawa State.
I must tell you, we're in bigger trouble than we really realize. I'm sure you remember a couple of weeks ago, 4 American soldiers were killed right in Niger borders. And, you know, it was said that the leader of the people who led that killing, you know, was an ISIS, you know, leader. So what it means is that somewhere at the borders of Nigeria are ISIS fighters who are sympathetic to the ISIS cause. What is worse is, since the displacement in Raqqa and, you know, territories in the Middle East, you have terrorists falling back into Africa, and because of how porous our borders are, you have them dropping in from Mali into the Sahel region, and they are, you know, fringing at the borders of Nigeria. And if you look at it, if you analyze it closely, the climate change in the northeastern part of Nigeria has displaced millions of smallholders farmers, leaving them in absolute penury and poverty, meaning they are susceptible to a simple $50 handout from some of these fighters who are dropping from Libya and Mali.
And the sad thing is that Boko Haram even swore allegiance to ISIS anyway years back. So meaning that they could probably even welcome these people with open arms.
So it's a real problem we have in our hands, except we fix, you know, the issue of poverty in the Northeast, you just might not be able to deal, with this Boko Haram crisis.
All right.
So let's go to the Vanguard as the same story, but the figure is quite higher here. It says Adamawa, 105 killed in Mubi, Numan attacks, 60 in suicide bomb blast in Mubi, 45 in Numan by gunmen. There's scores with life-threatening injuries. We will secure a state from Boko Haram menace. That's President Muhammadu Buhari talking. Yeah, he's talking tough. Yes, well, in the past, he said that Boko Haram had been routed from the northeastern part of the country, but sadly, all these are happening at this time. Like you said, it's a growing threat. But how do you think the military should approach this, knowing that the Air Force engaged in aerial bombardment just a while ago?
Yeah, like I carefully said, it's about connecting the dots here. The military has a fundamental role to play, which they are doing. They have to do what they can do, by putting boots on the ground and matching them fire. But the issue of the Boko Haram is so multifaceted that as much as you're, having a military engagement in that part of the region, you also need to fix the fundamental problem in that region. There's a terrible climate change displacing millions of smallholder farmers. If you read the UN report sometime a couple of months ago, where it said 5 million people are on the verge of food crisis in that particular region. There are people in the Northeast, who haven't seen 1,000 naira in their entire life. So I think it's important that we fix that problem of poverty. If we don't fix that problem, you will have lots and lots of people who continue to be sympathetic to the cause of these individuals by getting little handouts, and they pledge alliance to this.
All right.
All right, Ayodele Adio, thank you so much for joining us on the paper review this morning on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.